Hello and welcome back to another episode of A Build a Day. Today I have a much longer episode, but it's because I sort of wanted to do something bigger after my exams. So my exams have finished for now. There's going to be more in like March and then more in like May and June. Joys of being a student. Anyway, I was sort of browsing the interwebs, and Minecraft subreddits and Pinterest and stuff, and I saw a couple builds that were sort of a similar idea. The one that I've sort of done before, really early on in this sort of series, I built a Italian Riviera street. So we just had a few Italian sort of Riviera inspired buildings and just like a bit of a road in front of them. And I was seeing as a sort of theme a medieval street, which is effectively the same idea, just a row of buildings that are medieval with a bit of path in front of them. And some of these look really, really good. Like, really good. I'm not even joking. Like, actually really good. Especially compared to some of the stuff that I was seeing around them. But they were, pretty cool. And then one of them had what I thought was very interesting, because a lot of them were just house, just a load of houses. And it was like, this is kind of, they look good, and, they're interesting, but like, they're kind of a bit boring, not gonna lie. So then I saw one where it's house, tower, house. I was like, oh, that's very interesting. So I thought I'd sort of borrow that idea of swapping out one of their buildings for a tower, and then I'd put it in sort of the style that we've been doing medieval builds in recently. In fact, I use a new technique that I found. I really wish I remembered who they were. It was somebody on the Minecraft builds subreddit, the Minecraft building subreddit, and they had built what looked like a B-dubs inspired house, and they had on the roof, which had an absolutely killer gradient. It was mud brick to hay, like hay. I mean, it wasn't even a thatched roof. It was just a hay roof. It was very interesting. I found, and they on the top of the roof they had a fence that went along the top, and I couldn't figure out what was on top of the fences until I zoomed in and found that it was candles. They had used candles to decorate the top of the roof, and I was like, I love that idea, I'm gonna borrow it. And it worked, I think, pretty well here. I mean, it looks pretty cool. It works like straight into this style, because this style is, quite similar to a couple of B-dubs' builds, and that looked like a B-dubs build, so basically it's just compatible. I also thought while I was building, I was sort of deciding what colours to make the buildings, and I was like, well, why don't I just make the buildings the colours that the wool is, right? So then I was thinking of an interesting like sort of white block, because this building that we're building right now had a white outline. And I was like, I can use the mushroom stem block, because who has ever used that? I mean, I think maybe B-dubs once. That's basically all I can think of. And I gotta say, it works. I really like it. I really like all of the mushroom blocks. Wow. English is hard. I like all of the mushroom blocks, actually. The red mushroom block is a bit harder to work into some builds, but maybe you've got like an awning like outside of a bakery or something, and you want to put an awning there, you could put that in there, mix that in with some stem. It might look all right, actually. But yeah, here I was sort of trying to figure out what I was going to do with the roof and stuff, and I decided that going 2 layers of slabs and then stairs from there wouldn't really look great, so I just kept it slabs. It's just easier, and it was, and I like it better. It adds, it's a different roof, so it just looks a bit more interesting, rather than just being A-frame, A-frame, A-frame. It's like A-frame, but like a little bit shallower, and it means that the peak is slightly lower than the peak of the blue house. So that was pretty good. But yeah, as you can see, I'm working on the front of the builds primarily right now, at least, because I did not know what I was going to do for the back, so I just built the front. This is the angle that I wanted to be viewed from anyways, so I was like, I just put the most work into this angle because this is the one that matters. But yeah, I think this is one of the best builds that I've done, full stop, like actually ever. This is a really, really good build, and I'm not like actually trying to be arrogant, but like I really like this build. I think it came out great, compared to a lot of my other builds. I can think of a couple that aren't as great. There was the windmill that I built in my Back to Beta series. That was bad. That was absolutely awful. Yeah, I want to forget that build. That's how bad it was. And then there was, well, it wasn't bad, but it was definitely very janky. And that was the gingerbread band that we built for the Christmas series. That was just a bit wonky, a bit sort of. It looked interesting. I don't actually know why I chose to build a gingerbread. Like, why did I choose to build a gingerbread man? Like, of all the things, like, why that? Because like I built a gingerbread house and it looked so much better. Oh well. I guess that's the beauty of hindsight, isn't it? You sort of go, yeah, let's never do that again. But yeah. Anyway, where did this tangent come from? What was I on about? I don't really know what I was on about. I think I was ranting about this build being kind of nice. I think there are things that I would do differently though. I changed a couple things, and I only built this like an hour ago. This build took so long. It took 55 minutes. So yeah, I think it's the longest build other than yesterday's fields, because if you combine the total of all of those recordings, it was over an hour. I actually can't speak English today. It was over an hour, that sort of planting fields. So yeah, but that was planting fields. It is the most repetitive thing in the world. And this was a lot of detail. So if you scaled this up to like those fields, I don't even know how long it would take. A long time. That's how long it would take. But yeah, as I mentioned, we've got a tower here. This was interesting actually, because I sort of have a design for the roof of like square towers where I want to have like a a roof, and not like crenellations. And I sort of settled upon this design. I think there are a couple things I would change, like maybe swapping out a couple blocks for walls, because it would just ease it up a little bit more. This would be one of the things. If Minecraft had vertical slabs, I'd use vertical slabs for this, because it would just make it so much easier. But I don't think, as Minecraft is currently, that they should add vertical slabs. Because if you look at it, right, you're playing in creative, you're probably fine, right? But if you're playing in survival, there is nowhere near enough inventory space to take all of the blocks that have slabs and give them a vertical slab. There's just not enough inventory space. They need to fix the inventory and then do all of their additions. And maybe that's where some of the sort of difficulties with a couple of the updates have come from, is sort of not wanting to add more because there isn't enough space. So who knows though. But yeah, anyway, I'm going on a rant. I changed the windows of this build because I had the idea to make them scaffolding, because I really like that. It's really interesting use of scaffolding. It didn't fit in. It looked completely out of place. It was like all of the rest of them are oak trapdoors, and then there's just this one at the end that it's like, I'm gonna be different scaffolding, and it looked so out of place. I think if it was maybe like jungle trapdoors, I think that could maybe work. And maybe mangrove trapdoors as well. I think either of those could work in this scenario, because it's about that sort of wood tone, this sort of dark brown or darker brown, and scaffolding's got like a greeny yellow almost. But anyway, now we're working on the back of the build. I know I'm not like half of Hermitcraft where it was the back of the build, never heard of that. I've been watching a bit of Hermitcraft season 8 on Grian playing it, and the amount of jokes and puns in that season, wow, it's hilarious. But the back of the builds, like, nobody finishes them because I feel like it's because as a builder you have an angle that you want your build to be viewed from, so you just build it to look really nice in that angle, and nothing else. Like at the end of the video, in this sort of montagey, screenshotty, like showcasey bit, I don't know what it's called, it's just where I put like a showcase, I guess, of the build there. I didn't show either of the sides of this build because it's boring. Like, it's just a flat wall on both ends. It's like there's nothing to see. Like, you may as well see the front and the back because like they've actually got stuff on them. I think if it was like a proper block of medieval houses, and it had sort of a couple houses of depth, it could be a bit better. But it's whatever. I messed up on this house frame. Immediately noticed because the roof was like overhanging way too much, so I moved that. I did all of the frames and then immediately forgot to texture them, that was fun. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, you put in the frames and it immediately makes it look like 10 times more finished. But yeah, I don't really know sort of what I was thinking for the back of this. I wasn't really. I was just sort of like, copy the front, but like make it slightly different. You know, like sort of copied the design, but like window placement. You know, just like don't copy the windows, basically. That was basically my philosophy. It was just copy the front. It will make it quicker, and it did, because oh my word, if the back took as long as the front, I would have absolutely no time. I am so sorry for yawning in the middle of this video, but I have expended so much energy doing that history exam and building this as well. There was a lot of figuring out of things, a lot of testing, and just experimentation, really, within this build. I have like no energy left. I'm so tired. I'm gonna have a really good night's sleep tonight, and probably wake up at like 11 o'clock in the morning. But it's the weekend tomorrow, so that does not matter, which I'm very happy about. Yeah, but yeah, I've sort of finished almost the orange building at this end, and the way I've done this build is so irritating to do any sort of replay in the replay mod, because like I've done this in the weirdest order. I went from like left to right with the roofs and the frame, but then like right to left in terms of filling the buildings out, and then I've got like front, back, front, and like I don't even show the end of me building the front, because I literally just add a curb. Like I add a border to the path. That's it. That's all I change. I'm like, I cannot be bothered moving the camera around there to show me placing in some polished andesite. Like, who wants to watch that? Like, no, I can just tell people what I'm doing, because it just makes my life easier, and it just makes it a little less random, I guess. But yeah, I need to get into the sort of habit of building with replay mod in mind. Like, if I'm building a street, build one building at a time completely, right? Like, build it up, detail it, and move on to the one next to it, and always keep it in the same direction, which makes it just easier to do replay mod, because that way I can just go, right, start position, end position, track it, and just go, you know, and it will just make a line and track the camera around. And if I want it to track at like a certain point, I just, you know, point the camera at that, and then at the end, point the camera at it at a different angle, at a different sort of location, and it tracks exactly to what I'm looking at. It's very, very, very useful. But not if you build illogically, because my word, the building of this was incredibly illogical. But oh well. I haven't really got into the habit of building with a mod that records me in mind. I haven't really got into the habit of doing that, so you know, oh well. Yeah, we're almost done. Just adding in the final walls and the windows, etc. Doing some final texturing. I add some plants, you know, some details, and then Then I did the frame. I always do these builds where I don't texture the frame, and then I realize that I need to do that after I've put all the decorations on, and I just go, why did I do this to myself? And I don't know. I have no answer for that question. I don't know. It's very annoying because it means that my job is just like 10 times harder, because I had to go on the inside and just like jump around and like add some bits and bobs and random stuff. Yeah, now I'm doing the sort of the corners, the outside, and the back is done. Almost. Anyway, the back is done, and now I'm adding the curb because, yeah, as I mentioned, yeah, I made it out of smooth stone slabs, and then I was like, looks a bit bad, so I changed it for polished andesite slabs because it looked a lot better. It looked a lot better. But anyway, the video is now over. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you tomorrow.